There's been a lot of speculation in the media. Azimio is splitting. Azimio is convening meetings which have not been held, and so on and so forth. That is all trash, media propaganda.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sibwoga TV, which is actually the home of politics. Today, the Azimio fraternity actually held its summit this year, and they came out after that summit and they gave what we call a press briefing. And on that press briefing, nobody was actually allowed to ask any question. They just gave up a press briefing and they added 2 indoor. And many people have actually been saying that the Azimio fraternity is something which is actually death, and something which is going to collapse completely because of the wrangles between the fraternity itself. Because it has been seen that within the Azimio fraternity, we never had the team within the Azimio coming together and actually having a common agreement to certain issues which affect this nation. For example, when we had the Natico report, and when it was being handed to the chair of Azimio, Raila Amolo Odinga, and the President William Samoei Ruto, the principals within the Azimio, except Raila Amolo Odinga and Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, actually they came out with a full force to reject the entire document of the Natico report. And this actually left Kenyans guessing, is Azimio alive? Why is this kind of a disagreement? Because the formation of the dialogue team, it had comprised various individuals from various parties within the Azimio coalition. But the end product was actually rejected by actually most of the principals within the Azimio fraternity, like Eugene Wamalwa, Martha Karua, and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So people have been saying that it is dead. And in actual sense, from the signs, it seems that even if today the principals came out to give that press briefing statement, from the look of the face, the way the principals represented themselves, then we can say that this Azimio fraternity is actually death, because you can tell from what we call body language of the principals within the Azimio that the coalition is actually not doing enough. It is not united by looking at body language. And another thing, in this summit, conspicuously, the Wiper representative were not present. Even Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka was not present, even if Raila Amolo Odinga had to tell the public that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka was on a foreign trip and he had sent his views and they were incorporated with that press briefing. But it is quite clear that even if the Azimio fraternity had that summit, there is a lot of disagreement. And that's why from the finding of that summit, it all looks that there's something wrong, because most of the things that summit was talking about, they never gave the remedy to those problems, because they were pointing at Kenya Kwanza government, its corruption, how huge it is. But they never gave an option as the opposition side to that. They also talked about the judiciary, how the executive is influencing on the judiciary. And they said that the executive should leave the judiciary alone. But they never gave out what is their plan so that they can save the judiciary from being manipulated with the executive. And also, on that press briefing, they only said that they are together, but they don't have a quite elaborated program which they are going to carry out in common. And that tells us that there's something danger within that coalition. Even if they have come out and they have said that Azimio is still okay, it has its unity and it is still kicking on. But from the press briefing itself, we can tell that there is something wrong. There is something wrong, because I never thought that if there was unity, we could have seen the entire principles. Even Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka was to be there. But I think Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka has smelled that this coalition is dead. I should not waste my time in that coalition. And that's why, of late, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is doing his own thing. And in that press briefing, they also talked about the respect of multipartyism, because they said that the Kenya Kwanza government, it is as if it is taking Kenyans back to one political party state, but which is not actually true. It's neither here or there. And they also failed to address why they took Kenyans to the streets, because still the high cost of living is quite high. Still, there is overtaxation, and they never gave Kenyans what is their plan towards that. And remember, when we had a mass action last year, they were talking about IEBC being restructured, but we are not seeing anything of that nature. And in that briefing, they never talked anything to do with that. They were also telling the Kenyans about the high cost of living. But in that statement, they never addressed that in a very conclusive way and what they are going to do to force the government to bring the cost of living down. So from this press briefing by the Azimio coalition, I think it is a total failure to the Kenyans. Please, let me give you the glimpse to the press briefing, so that at least you can hear what they had to tell the Kenyans. Please listen to this carefully.
Azimio remains satisfied with its activities that were able to focus on the excesses of the Kenya Kwanza regime that has made life miserable for the greater majority of Kenyans. Because of Azimio's focus and steadfastness, the cost of living as a government-induced pain is understood to be a direct result of Ruto's policies and not only global environment or previous regime. So this is purely Ruto's failed policies, and it should not be blamed on any global environment or Uhuru Kenyatta's regime almost 2 years later. The coalition is satisfied with the work of standing up for Kenyans and commits to continue holding the regime to account and to put blame where it belongs on areas like the ever-rising taxes, the deteriorating relationship with our neighbors, the rampant corruption in government, the tribalism in public service, the deterioration of the Kenya shilling, and general deterioration of our economy. The Kenya Kwanza regime, and not the people of Kenya, are to blame for these misfortunes that have ended up hurting innocent Kenyans. Azimio deeply regrets the loss of lives during the peaceful protests, continues to hold the government responsible for these needless deaths, and promises that the deaths shall never be in vain. The coalition has weathered several vigorous attempts by the Ruto administration to create disunity and splits in its ranks. Unity is an achievement the coalition will guard jealously to be able to continue fighting for Kenyans as one united front. Because the coalition has been able to stand up and stand together, Kenyans have regained their voice, their courage, and are standing up to the bullies in this regime. Kenyans are standing up in very remote parts of the country to tell off the government on its lies and its insensitivity to the people. We encourage Kenyans to continue manifesting courage and call out this regime. We will stand with all Kenyans expressing such courage and determination to take back our country. The coalition is happy and proud of the performance of its members of parliament and on all critical national issues. When it has mattered, even where the members have been outnumbered, they have expressed themselves clearly and candidly on such issues as the Finance Act 2023, and Kenyans will remember that there were 88 loyal members of Azimio who stood with them, and there are 176 who voted yes, and that is why they are suffering today. Kenyans will remember their voices also of Azimio legislators on the housing levy, on the deployment of the police to Haiti, and the general state of the economy. Over time, we have been vindicated.
After listening to that, you can conclude with me that in that press briefing of the Azimio fraternity, they never addressed anything conclusive about what is affecting this nation. And you can tell that from their body language that there is a problem with the Azimio coalition, even if they have addressed that they want every party to strengthen itself up so that they can have a very strong, what we call coalition. But it's not very true. Actually, even they never came up with a program which they are going to do together as a coalition. Because if the coalition is live and kicking, it should have some of the programs which they need to do together as a coalition, like the push of the restructuring of IEBC, like the push of the opening of the server, what they had told us last year. But they never did anything to that. So for me, I still say that the Azimio coalition is actually death. It's only breathing the last breath. I really don't know what's your take about this press briefing of the Azimio principles to the public. Please drop your comment in the comment section below. And if this is your first time to pump into this YouTube channel, I request you kindly to take a minute or two and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Share the video to your friends. And if your friends are lovers of politics, then request them to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And for those ones who have subscribed to our YouTube channel and you always come back to watch, I say thank you. May God always bless you. And with that, I say in conclusion that thank you so much until we meet in our next political conversation. Goodbye.